Hi, and welcome back to Psychology with Mr. Snyder. And today we're starting chapter 12, talking about young and middle adulthood. Here are your learning targets for this evening. You're going to identify the characteristics and goals of young adulthood. You'll analyze how divorce affects parents and children alike, and we will analyze some of the life changes associated with middle adulthood. First of all, young adulthood is right after adolescence, and it is the age of 21 to 39, and it's characterized by a new feeling of independence that a person didn't have during adolescence. So they have a desire to try new things, and also an ever-changing relationship with parents are the two characteristics of middle or young adulthood. Reassessment is one of the goals because once young adults reach their 30s, they often reevaluate the decisions that they've made, and they may make more changes in their life. And those may be major, those may be minor, but 30 is about the age at which a person does that. And mid to late 30s are when a person often settles down or plants roots, maybe buys a more permanent house or place to live, maybe thinks about, if they haven't already, having children. That may be the time to do that because we're getting kind of into biological territory where it's not possible after that point. Here are Erickson's developmental tasks of young adulthood, and these are the ones you have to know. We would explore adult roles, become more independent, develop intimate relationships with other people, adjust to living with another person. That can be quite an adjustment for an only child. Starting a family and becoming a parent, assuming the responsibilities of managing a home, beginning a career or a job, assuming the responsibilities in the larger community. For example, you may run for a position in public office or a religious organization, and beginning to create and expand on your social network of friends and coworkers. Divorce. Some divorce happens during middle or young, middle, and late adulthood. One reason divorce is a common occurrence, more so than it used to be, is because it's easier to obtain one. A lot of states now have no-fault divorce laws, which make it easier for adults to obtain one. People may divorce due to a number of reasons: spousal abuse, child abuse, infidelity or cheating, if you didn't know the fancy word for it, stress, or an inability to communicate with their partner. And there are obviously financial costs to a divorce, but there are other costs as well. Divorced mothers usually have the primary responsibility for children. Divorced fathers usually have to pay child support and or alimony. The good news is most divorced people recover, and the majority do remarry, so there is life after divorce, but it is a very, very hard emotional situation that people go through. And the people caught in the middle are the children. Divorce is difficult for children no matter what age. My parents, personal story from Mr. Snyder, my parents got divorced when I was 22. So it's not always when their kids are 6, 7, 8, teenagers. I'm sure many of you out there are children of divorce, and you're getting through it probably just fine. It probably hurts, but just so you know, children of divorced people are more likely, and there's a correlation here, to have behavioral problems, engaged in substance abuse, and earn lower grades in school. Boys usually have greater problems than girls in adjusting to a divorce, and this is why psychologists who advise parents on getting a divorce usually advise them to agree and come up with an agreement on how they will interact with their children. They help each other maintain a good parent-child relationship, and they do not criticize each other to or in front of children. So they don't talk bad about mom, they don't talk bad about dad to their children. These are tips for a healthy relationship after divorce. And I have friends in young and middle adulthood who have a great relationship with their ex-spouse. And so it is possible. Middle adulthood would be the age of 40 to 65. And according to Erickson, the greatest challenge in middle adulthood is what is called generativity. And generativity is a person's ability to create, originate, and produce. And this can happen in all aspects of their lives. They can pass on information to the younger generation. They can have significant impact on the world through their careers and communities. Maybe they run for public office and make major decisions that affect the city or the state or the country. But this is the greatest challenge in middle adulthood, is finding a way to be generative. And someone who is not generative becomes stagnant. And stagnation is the lack of advancement or development. And just like in economics, when something is stagnant and not growing, a person who is stagnant is not growing. And this can lead to feelings of loneliness and meaninglessness. Bet you didn't know that was a word. Now, a lot of people talk about a midlife crisis, and that's because it's the more fun version of the two. But there is a difference between a midlife transition and a midlife crisis. Everybody goes through a midlife transition. It's a period during middle adulthood, usually hits 35 with women and 40 with men. And it's a period in middle adulthood where a person's perspectives change and they start thinking about, I've lived about half my life here. And it's a turning point in their lives. And usually up until that point, you think about how many years you are away from birth. Now they start thinking about how many years they have left to live, since they're over halfway there. And it usually hits 35 in women because that's about the age that a woman sends her youngest child off to school. And that can have an effect and change a person's perspective. A midlife crisis, however, is triggered by a midlife transition. And it's more dramatic. It's a second period of reassessment during middle adulthood, because you may reassess your achievements or your lack of achievements and become disappointed or even clinically depressed about it. You may see younger people coming through your career track or doing the same thing that you did at a faster rate, making you feel worse about yourself. And it may result in significant life changes, monetary purchases, changes in career, changes in marriage, changes in a lot of things. But it's the more dramatic of the two, and it's triggered by a midlife transition. So please know the difference between those two things. And then the three changes in middle adulthood, they're just like adolescence is a period of searching and transition during your teenage years. Middlescence is a period of searching and transition similar to adolescence. And it involves searching for a new identity or even a second adulthood. Maybe you want to change your life completely. Well, this is the period to do it if you're making changes and experimenting with new identities during the period during middle adulthood called middlescence. Empty nest syndrome is the term applied to parents who they feel this after their children have left the home to establish lives of their own. So parents usually get this after their youngest kid has gone off to child, or usually after their youngest child has gone off to college. And once the nest is empty, they usually report feelings of loneliness, and they don't have their life job is done. They've sent their kids, they've grown them, they've raised them, they are gone. They're now adults. And so, however, this can be looked at as a positive thing, because once the nest is empty, adults have more time to themselves, and they usually report positive changes in their lives as well. But that is the empty nest syndrome. And menopause for women usually occurs in a woman's late 40s or early 50s, and it is the end of menstruation, and a woman's body goes through a lot of changes. A lot of those are myths, however, and menopause is perfectly normal for a woman, and it can actually be a healthy development in a woman's life. And so that is all for young and middle adulthood. Next time we'll talk about late adulthood and death and dying. So make sure you tune into that one. But we are approaching the end of this unit, and we'll have our test here in about a week. And so hope you're looking forward to that. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you later. Good night.